Whether you are here as an autistic person, an ally, a professional, a carer, or a family member, I hope you get a lot out of the day, and I really hope you enjoy everything you see. That's enough of me for now, and I'll hand you over to our first speaker, Laura, who will be talking to you about autism, sleep, and autistic burnout. Over to you, Laura.
In transparency, so I have chronic pain, like a lot of my community members, and last night it came on like a truck. And so I realized this morning I still really wanted to come. I still really wanted to do the chat. But I said, and normally I walk all over the place when I do my talks, but today I realized I may end up needing to sit down so that way I don't fall down or throw the mic accidentally at someone. So I'm going to start with standing because it's my preferred, but I may need to sit down if that's okay. And it's so typical too. I also talk to the staff of every time I do a talk on sleep, I never sleep the night before the night of. It's just so typical. So it totally makes sense it happened. So I woke up, I got myself up and I put myself on note cards as well, just in case. So I make sure that I tell you everything that I want to tell you. So this is obviously a very big topic. We only have a short amount of time, but I'm hoping there's a couple layers in it that you can take away from today. But I'll just kind of get going. I'd first like to also thank everyone for bringing us together. I absolutely adore these community events. It's my community. I didn't have it for decades. I was searching for it. And I feel like when we get these events, it's so heartwarming and I end up meeting the best people. So thank you so much for all coming and being here. And I already have some familiar faces. So hello, hello. If we haven't met before, I'm Laura Hellfeld. I work as an independent nurse and sleep consultant. I kind of came to this work because I wanted to figure myself out. I was late identified autistic, PDA, ADHD, along with some of the medical co-occurring conditions that tend to come along with it. And I realized I really, really, really wanted to figure myself out. Particularly when I was going to become a parent, I realized I needed to be a lot safer. I talk a lot about food as well, and that's been a big challenging area for me as well. And then when I had kids, I went, oh, I really need to learn some new ways forward because I really wanted our family unit to be as successful as possible. And for that, that means like just feeling like as authentic as we can in our homes with all our different brains in our house, and also having a lot of fun, really. I also am the associate editor of Autistic Revolution. If you're not familiar, it's a free online magazine. Our goal is to publish people that might not get a chance somewhere else. It's art, music, articles, pictures, drawings. If there's something you want to share, we would love to host it. We put in to become a charity just a couple weeks ago. So hopefully our goal is to be able to pay everybody and make really meaningful paid work for our community members. And I also recently co-authored Creating Safe Spaces for Autistic People. And one of the lovely people who gave me a quote for it is right there. All right, I guess let's dive in. So looking back, there were so many hints of my neurotypes, even if we just saw about sleep. I just didn't go to bed. I was the person that just stayed in bed. My parents were quite traditional parenting tradition or techniques of they're like, all right, we went through your bedtime routine. This is your room. You're in there now, and you're in there. I used to tell everyone, I sleep with my eyes open. I never went to bed. I think my mind was so busy. Eventually, I would fall asleep, of course, but I would just be in there for hours awake. The toothbrush is to represent bedtime routine. This is still a huge thing for me and was one of my biggest light bulb moments being demand avoidant. I hate step-by-step stuff to do. Absolutely, absolutely hate it. So going through bedtime routines with my parents when we were younger, I have an older kid who absolutely loves routine. He's autistic, but very different from me. And he finds comfort in it. He finds joy in routine, and he can just go through his little steps and voila, he's in his bed and is somehow falling asleep in like 20 minutes. I don't know how he does it. For me, I find it incredibly activating, irritating. I get angry. I still do. So when I talk on, if we have more time, I talk on like my accommodations are like, I don't wear makeup. PJs are on in the afternoon. I brush my teeth. Maybe I eat again, but I'm not doing it again. And so in our house when I was younger, I was that kid that just kind of was running up and down the hallways. And my parents were like, why? This kid seems to try so hard, but why is this so hard for us? And then I also did the, what's known, talked about quite as much, the creative hour. So waking up, I used to do the waking up between 2 and 4 and just be up and be like, what are we doing now? What should I work on now? What kind of passion project do I have in my room? And it's when I used to do a lot of drawing, a lot of poetry. This is something that is in my family history. It's my grandpa writing his biology thesis. It's another writer in the family. It's kind of common in our community, this like time between 2 to 4. It's also indicative of a stress response system. And then I put the picture of battery. I don't know how I survived for all those years on such little sleep, other than I think I had age on my side and I wasn't worried about finding my keys and wallet like I am constantly now, and like, how do you pay bills? So I think I was somehow managing. However, once those pressures came on, in the States we have junior high, then high school. So it's about at the age 11-ish that you go on to junior high. So you go from like your lovely primary school where you love your teachers and everyone knows who you are, and you go to secondary school and you go, oh my gosh, what is happening? I didn't get any of the social cues. I didn't get the groups. I didn't understand any of it. And there was so many demands. And I also, I reference it a lot, but Dr. Ross Green, the whole like kids do well if they can, I really, really tried. And I knew I could achieve in my classes. So I really pushed myself. I also really enjoyed sport. I was very sporty and I loved community groups. I was public health worker at the very start to me. So I loved all of this, but it was a lot of demands. It was very busy. I was just in time that was highly structured. It was very adult led because I was a child, right? So even if it's stuff I enjoy, even if it was just out on the football pitch, it's still being led by coaches. I still have to be listening to instructions the whole time. And eventually things gave out. So I think having the age on my side, eventually something had to give. And I really just started to disappear. I've described it as, first it was social. I couldn't do it. I mean, I just couldn't do it anymore. I needed to be able to find time that was just quiet, time in between things to just try to respoon, regroup. Food and eating, I've talked on this quite a lot because I do think at that time I likely would have been diagnosed with ARFID during probably about 4 or 5 years. During that time, food became very, very tricky for me. And that was actually a really scary thing for me. And again, in adulthood, I kept thinking, I have to figure this out because I go through blips as well. And I didn't understand why. And I'd be trying so hard and think, I'm quite a highly qualified healthcare professional. I struggle to feed myself. Why is that? And then sleep. My sleep went from, again, kind of all over the place as a kid to, I went through days, and even my parents would say, because I just became white as a ghost, really dark circles under my eyes. That perpetuated losing weight. Or I went into that whole dorsal vagal deep down hard, and I slept for days. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do life anymore. And I hit my first burnout then. I was about 12, between 11 and 12, and that continued on until about 16, 17. Because during that time, nobody knew the neurotypes. It was all, you're anxious, you're high achieving, you should just try harder. I just remember it was stuff like try harder. It was more things were put on my plate. When I've talked about the food stuff, it was like these lists of foods I needed to start eating that I just couldn't manage. It just became demands, and lots of appointments to where I just became even busier. I would go from school to appointments and counseling, and all of it was from this frame of reference of like, well, what if you only tried somewhat? And I was like, I don't know what that means. And now knowing I'm autistic, that idea of like some of the black and white going, just only do kind of okay. I was like, I don't know what that means. How do you even do that? How do you even only put some of yourself forward in even a lecture? So because this is a really short time, there's so many layers to it. People always ask like, how did I get out of burnout? Or when I've had other blips, how did I come out? Honestly, one of the biggest things I did for myself was I dropped demands. And it sounds really, really simple. And it sounds like that seems so obvious. However, it continues to be the number one thing then when I support families and carers or individuals themselves, because we worry about not meeting expectations. We try to keep up with other people. We worry about the future. We're like, well, what if in a year they can't get back on that football team? But what if in a year they can't get back in that class? So it's one of those things that's easier said than done, but dropping demands, I pulled myself out of a bunch of the community stuff. I actually stopped sports because I realized I was going to have to pick one in order to get through this. But the real big piece here, so I knew that for a while. I was like, all right, well, I did that for myself. But why did that work so well? And why then now going forward, I can continue to stay pretty safe? I think that self-led time, particularly for neurodivergent people, is one of the keys to our mental wellness and one of the keys to prevent burnout, or one of the keys to get back out of burnout. And there's some really incredible reasons why. So one, I mean, I think we all know we love our passion projects, but why is that? So during breaks, during self-led time, when you're awake and restful, your brain processes information. So you're getting to process all that sensory information that comes in, all the emotions that have been going on, social interactions, to be like, what? Did I overshare again? What else is there? Like just all the things, all the communication. You get to process that all. If you get to process during your day, during these breaks, during self-led time, maybe you're lining up your cars, maybe you're playing on the piano, whatever it is, whatever you enjoy, or you can just be, you now don't have to push that into sleep. So we know that our sleep is divided into sections. Don't need to know any of that. Other than there's some of our sleep that's meant for processing. So if we have too much to process, we spend too much time in REM sleep at night. And the problem with that is we don't get deep rest. So if we don't allow ourselves to rest during the day, we actually the knock-on effect is actually less rest at night. So if we don't get deep rest, that's where we get people who wake up tired. Say like, I know I went to bed last night, but actually I'm still tired. It's when then our pain becomes worse, our immune system doesn't get to repair. It's the repairing time. So all your body systems, it's often when we see if families are worried about someone going through burnout, we notice when their co-occurring medical conditions start to come out or get exacerbated. So maybe, again, pain because of inflammation, eczema, celiac, all of it starts to come out. So as simple as it sounds of, honestly, please give breaks to yourself and please give breaks to our young people. It's actually really, really vital because their brain needs to spend time in those lovely waves during the day to process information in order to allow themselves to get deep rest overnight and be fully rested and be able to wake up the next day ready. I'm going to check my time. Okay. So I've been really strict with myself on this. Then after figuring this out, when people ask me, how do you then do the work you do? My kids have additional needs. How do I do it all? It honestly is about this idea of like a balance. If something gets put on as a demand, like a social activity or something else drops. We're very strict on that. So whether it's down to the individual or us as a family, something else has to go so that we're always at a balance, always making sure that all of us, there's 4 of us in our household, get alone time, get self-led time, the adults and the kids, and it's very protected. And that's one of our like really affirming things in our household that we're all neurodivergent is we have to have this to stay safe and healthy. So while I know it's hard that this kid now is on 2 football groups, and you are good, you're right, but I'm really concerned about you as a person going forward. So my sleep then isn't always what people are like, oh, you must sleep all now. Like, oh, it's kind of all over the board. But I think I have a much different frame of reference. I think I now know a lot more about myself. And so like last night was pain. That's why I didn't go to bed. I don't panic about it. I used to have that demand then in my head of like, I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. My mom said to go to bed. I need to go to bed. I've got a busy day tomorrow. I better go to bed. And of course, being a demand avoidant person, I'm up all night. I did great on night shifts, by the way. It was easy. Tell myself to go to bed. No. So now I have to be really careful and I embrace the nap, and it'll even be, I'm quite famous for napping in the middle of everything now, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes, particularly around like 6 to 7 p.m. when it's really busy and everyone wants a lot of things. I just tend to, I take my 10, 15 minutes. There I go. I still will get up and do the creative hour. That's usually when I write a presentation. That's usually, it's my best work. And I just know I maybe need to pace it the next day again. I don't overload my schedule. I'm really careful with social. I'm very careful about who I spend my time with. And again, I just have this frame of reference of I'm doing this because I feel really strongly about staying as safe as I can for myself, but I want to be a good role model to my kids who are similar. And I think it's great role modeling to be like, I know that I'll be able to eat and sleep better if we decide as a family we're not going to that birthday party. And it's okay. That's totally okay. I think I'm just about at time, or I kind of whizzed through it, which was awesome. So this, I do want to point out, if you follow me, you've seen it a bunch of times. And I realized like at a conference a couple weeks ago, I had it as well. So you would have seen it there. And so it's kind of everywhere. And I said, oh, I hope it's not becoming like Andy Warhol's soup cans that you see it so much, it doesn't mean anything anymore. But really, when people come to talk about more serious concerns around self-care, like the eating and sleeping and hygiene, and going into burnout, the very first thing we talk about, and I think the most important thing to talk about, is you can't tune into yourself until the stuff around you quiets down. So we have to let ourselves and our younger people the ability to say no, the ability to skip things, the ability that if we said we're going to go somewhere, but now we get to the day and going, actually, I don't feel that well. I actually just really, really want to work on my comic that I've been diving into. And then that way, actually, you can tune back into yourself, hear all those signals, and be able to sleep better and eat better. And I think that's it. That's where you can find me, kind of all over the place. And then that's the book. And we just found out from Dr. Luke Bearden that he put it on his reading list for students. Yeah. And then, again, the magazine is a free magazine. I also run the community events through the magazine, and those are free as well. I love having people drop in, so please follow us, and anything that we do, feel welcome to drop in. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do at the end. I just walk away.